nothing like a family vacation.
The art of fatherhood, it unlocks some purpose in you.
The hardest part of being a father for me is time management. You want to be there, but you got to go and do what you got to do, take care of the family. In order to be a king, you got to make sure your priorities is intact.
It's state of the culture.
Hip-hop is the commonality to bridge the gap between the young Lils to the older OGs. There's an endless need for information to decode the culture.
Robin Latiker Johnson. She is a former network producer at BET and Sci-Fi and currently the head of content and development for Revolt Media. Ladies and gentlemen, Robin Latiker Johnson. This one right here, that's all you. With the lipstick on the rim, I see it. People gonna know that's your cup, that's mine. Right.
So first of all, can I just say God is good, because my friends came tonight and I didn't know they were coming. So that was really
Where
sweet.
your friends at? Let's see them. Okay.
It was really sweet.
Robin, I'm glad you're here.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Revolt Media. So this is P. Diddy's media company, correct?
That's correct. Sean P. Diddy Combs.
Did you ever think that a hip hop artist would own such a prolific, prominent media company? I mean, he has to be one of the first to do it, right?
He is. There are very few Black-owned media companies out there. I mean, Byron Allen, of course, has an amazing company and really very successful with multiple channels on the cable platform. If anyone was to do it, I would have thought it would be Puff for sure.
Why is that?
Absolutely. He is driven like nobody I've ever met before.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And he also, if you tell him he can't do something, he will do it. You tell him he can't act on Broadway, he will do it. You tell him he can't run a marathon, he will do it. Last year, for his 49th birthday, they told him not to jump out of an airplane, and he did it.
Wow.
So he's the one.
Yeah, what does it take for somebody to have that attitude and approach to life?
I think you just talked about it. Fearlessness.
I mean, that makes sense.
I left you speechless. That's my bad.
You did. It's like that was simple. That's exactly right. So, Robin, tell me what is it that you do? You are the head of development at Revolt. What does that mean?
So, my role, the title is head of content. On a daily basis, though, what I actually do, I oversee all of the content that's long form, whether it's short, but if it's narrative, we call it long form, whether it's on linear or digital. So I oversee the content, the development process, take all the pitches, etc. I also oversee a budget for that content. I oversee programming, scheduling, and acquisitions and licensing. It's all sort of one department. I oversee the music team, the talent team,
wow, and
the production department.
Wow. How do you manage all of that? I mean, that's a lot.
Well, we're a small company. We're still an upstart. So not that it's easy, but we have fewer employees than, say, BET. In the Viacom universe, I mean, we would be considered very small. It's not easy doing it, but I don't really do it for the job the way I used to. I do it for the people that I work with. And my staff, most of them are 25 to 35 years old, and they give me life. And it's good to be around them every day. And that's why I drive in to work every morning.
Nice.
For them, really, because it's fun to be around them, but they're also super driven, super smart, super talented, and junior in their careers still. So, I'm Auntie Robin at the office.
Oh, okay.
And, my doors, it's always swinging because people want to come in and talk about whether it's the creative process or life strategy, whatever it is. Like, we do a lot of that, and I love it. That's the thing. I feel like at this point in my life, I know why I'm here on this planet, and it really is to work with people. prior to working at Revolt, I was a manager. And when I left Sci-Fi and decided that I was going to start this management company, I realized instantly that that's what I was here to do. And I used to always tell my clients, I got to get my Oprah on. This is what I do. I really love helping people lead their best lives. Whether I was coaching them on a pitch that they were about to go out and do, or talking through how we would get them a better rate for a job that they deserve to be paid their value for. Whether just listening to them on how they're juggling being a single mom and, working in production. I loved it. That was what I really loved. So being at Revolt, it's a different level, but I really love working with young people. And when we work together, like that Father's Day special we created, I was able to hire some of my former clients to produce it. And it was hard work and not a lot of money to produce it, but it gave us so much joy. It was a half-hour special that aired on Father's Day, and it's just beautiful. Yeah, I mean, very important for us to see images of fathers of color in a positive light. It was all positive, and we don't get to see that so much. We see a lot more negativity on the news or even in scripted television around fatherhood. And of the 6 fathers that we showed, we had fathers who were married and in relationships with the mothers of their children. We had single father who went through his own process to be able to be a good father to his kids with 2 different baby mamas, and decided to take the third one who's not even his and raise her too. Like, it was just such a beautiful, all of the stories were great. That stuff, just that's what really motivates me.
I imagine that working on that show meant a lot to you, not only on a professional level, but a personal level.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm blessed. My husband is in my life. We've been married, I think it's 23 years this year, I think. Thank you. Yeah. And it's such a blessing, but my dad was absent after a certain point in my life. So it definitely means a lot. Yeah.
So Robin, I mean, you have such a prolific, resume. So when a network is faced with, and we're talking about the business of TV development, right? When a network is faced with a gambit of pilots and show ideas, is there a formula that networks utilize to kind of select the shows that they decide that they want to develop?
There is. I think from a development perspective alone, we do a lot of work really trying to get into the nitty-gritty from a qualitative perspective of who our audience really is. Everything demographically, from what the average household is, to what areas of the country they live in, to what they do for fun, what other networks they watch. There's a whole lot that goes into creating a profile of who that person is that watches your network or engages with your content, because it's a different conversation with digital. But we do all that research. So we do have a really good sense of who our audience is. And that's the sort of the first step in figuring out what shows are right for us. I think we also look at price points. I look at price points a lot more now because it's a much slimmer environment at Revolt from a budget perspective than it was, say, at Sci-Fi. But budget is a consideration. And when it gets to that level, the CFOs, the numbers crunchers are running pro formas to make sure that they are taking the average of what the sales department thinks they can sell advertising for, put against what the budget is, how many times can you air it. There is a true formula on that level, which luckily I don't really have to pay attention to. They just tell me. But we also look at who's producing the content. So, and that's a challenge, especially for freelance producers. So, I think some of the advice that I used to give my clients, if you have an idea for I'll just say hip hop idol, for example, because I got that pitch probably 75 times in 3.5 years at BET. Everybody brings in hip hop idol, and first of all, if you don't come in with a talent with stars attached to it, hosts or judges or something, you're probably not going to get a second look, because all of the 74 other pitches will have someone. And then we look at who exactly is that producer. Do you have a track record? Do we know you can produce that type of show? Can I trust you with the millions of dollars that you're going to take away to go produce this thing? So that's a consideration as well. So if two producers walk in the door on the same day and pitch the same hidden camera, prank show, most likely the network is going to make the decision to go with either the known entity or the one that they've worked with before.
So when you were with Sci-Fi, did you develop Face Off, or were you a showrunner?
No, so I wasn't the showrunner.
Okay.
I wasn't the showrunner. So I developed Face Off with a team. So I didn't create it. It was a show that we did workshop internally first.
And the idea was presented to you, and this was something that...
This one was different. So I think traditionally, a lot of pitches come in and we make decisions on the pitches. We talk about them internally. Again, we go through that process. Do we think it's right for our audience, etc.? Will it win? Does it have legs? Is it going to have seasons and seasons and seasons, or is it, going to be a one-off, filler type of programming that doesn't really pop? So with Face Off, though, it was different. Face Off is something we developed in-house, and then got to a point with it where we thought it was a really good idea, and we said, "Who's going to produce this for us?" We had been working with a production company called Mission Control Media on another series that was a competition elimination series, and they did a fantastic job. And we said, let's give it to them to develop further. And if they knock it out of the park, we'll pick it up. And they did. And 13 seasons later.
Huge hit.
Yeah.
It's a huge hit.
Yeah.
So, okay, so once a show gets picked up and, you've done all of your work, right? Is there further involvement that you have with these shows?
Absolutely. So on the development side, and every network is a little different and handles things, so in my situations, I've always done both development and current. So being a current executive, some people call them current production. Development is the stage where you take the pitches, you develop them out with the producer. You might do a presentation tape with them, or not so much a sizzle, but you'll do a presentation tape that's a little longer and tells a story. You might do a pilot with them. So the development executive handles that part of the process. At some networks, once it's been greenlit to series, you will hand that off to a current executive who now runs the show with the producers. Producers don't love that. Agents don't love that, because the person who's most invested in it is no longer in the process. So it's interesting. So I've been lucky enough to work at companies where I did both. So the show that I developed with producers, I held on to it once it goes into series production. So what current production is really managing the day-to-day, all of the day-to-day aspects for every single thing that you see on that screen. And when I was at Sci-Fi, I might have 7 shows in production, 3 shows in development, 4 or 5 shows that were in negotiations, 4 or 5 shows that were in post. It was pretty busy, but fun. Current. So I was trying to explain this to my mom once, because she doesn't understand the game, and we were watching Face Off. And she liked Face Off. She would talk to people in the grocery store about Face Off. And she was like, I don't understand. What do you do? I said, well, just look at the screen right now. The host is standing there. I approved her wardrobe. Her lower third comes up on the screen with her name. I approved how those graphics looked. The lighting, I approved. The Mylar floor, I approved. We talked through all of that. We worked collaboratively with the producers, and every single thing that you're looking at. The judges, I approved. The copy that the host says, I approved. On Face Off, I was on the phone with the producers during production every single hour. It was, that show could have just been one executive's only detail. And current executives go to set. It depends on the show, but current executives go to set. If it's a travel show, I'm not going to be there 24/7 on a show that's shooting in other places. But State of the Culture, for example, shoots in Jersey City, and I typically go out for the first episode. It's a pretty well-oiled machine, so I don't really have to go back anymore. But I was there for a couple of different episodes in the first season.
I mean, you've worked with so many different styles of shows, different audience. How is it that you're able to see what works and what doesn't work for different shows?
Well, I love TV. I studied TV. I really did. Vanessa and I were just talking about being latchkey kids. You know, I would come home after basketball practice and my mom would be at work and I would watch TV while I was doing my homework and eating my dinner. I watch TV till I go to bed. And, you know, she'd come home and turn the TV off. Like, I love TV. So I do think that anything you want to be good at, you have to be a student of the game. So that's just that personally. But it comes down to storytelling, I think, in the end. And when I give notes, like not all executives give great notes. They don't. A lot of executives, you know, you can tell right away when somebody just needs to put their thumbprint on it so they feel like they've been contributing. I'm training up a couple of young folks in our office now on how to do this. And I'm teaching them how to give good notes as they're watching Rough Cuts. And, you know, they start off real gung-ho, giving a bunch of notes because they want to impress me. And I'm telling them, pull back. You're giving too many notes. You're overwhelmed. Like, you want to make sure that you're giving your producers something that they can work with. But at the same time, if you overwhelm them, you're going to create a crevasse. You know, they're going to get frustrated. Ultimately, over 3 or 4 Rough Cuts, you'll get all of your notes addressed, but you don't need to give them all at once. But I tell them, start with clarity. Clarity first. As you're watching it, you don't have to look for every flash frame or every time the music skips. First, work with the story. Do you understand it? Is there a hole? Do you not understand how they got from point A to point B? Those are the types of notes that you have to give to get there. So yeah, people ask me all the time, could you work at ESPN? Could you work at Nat Geo? For a while I was pigeonholed. I was getting the Nat Geo calls because I worked at Sci-Fi and they wanted more women working in the office, but they needed somebody who had the sensibility for their demographic. I can work anywhere. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. That being said, I won't work everywhere. So.
No, why not?
Because I've earned the right to make that decision.
Yeah, nice. I like that. I like that.
It's that simple.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't always do that. I have a mortgage, so you know, you got to figure things out. But at the same, there's some places that I feel like the content is not really for me. So when I went to BET, I had many people, including a lot of Black folks, telling me, "Don't go there, don't go there, don't go there." But for me, I felt like, well, but I want to make a difference. At the time, there were a couple music video shows that, you know, are no longer on air. And what I really wanted to do, my babies were very little. I wanted to be able to create some programming so that when they were old enough to watch the air, that they could watch those shows and be entertained, but get something out of it at the same time. That was important. That was important to me. You know, even now working at Revolt, I am not the demographic. I am a major hip hop head, but hip hop has changed. But I have teenagers who love contemporary hip hop, and it was important to me to be able to bring some balance to what we do. The music videos that are on our air, we have a lot of music videos. So the business model for a small company like Revolt is that, you know, we may pay X amount of large dollars to a Universal Music Group or Sony so that we get these music videos to air, but it's super cost effective at the end of the day because they're on so many hours, like the old days of MTV and BET. I don't love all the music videos that I see on our air, but it's part of the culture. And if I can bring some balance to that with some shows that can also educate and entertain the young folks and get them involved. You know, my initiatives at the company are around new artists discovery. So whether they're music artists, we are launching a show called Funny AF next month. So rising comedians, new fashion designers who are up and coming, new kids doing things.
Point about technology. I mean, over the past 10 years or so, since the advent of social media, which has just decimated everything in its wake and really changed, you know, the industry. How have you seen television programming kind of adapt to that emergence of social media in the digital era today?
I mean, social media has become the key marketing tool to reach the audiences because you can geo-target people. You can literally get all of the research. they look up and what they watch. And so you can you've seen it, you've seen stuff pop up in the side of your Facebook feed, or, you see that stuff being sent directly to you because they know you're the type of person who wants to surf. And so it has become a invaluable promotional tool for us, but also a great way to spin off concepts, or do shorter form stuff that you can track back. So what we do a lot of times is we'll create a show that lives on linear, which is on television, and then we'll do a shorter form that is somewhat adjacent to it that's on digital, and that allows us to sort of promote both ways.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when I'm browsing Netflix, right, and I don't know what I'm watching, I don't know what to watch, it takes forever. My go-to is always The Office, right? But recently NBC, I believe, has announced that they are starting now their own streaming service. So that'll be available in a couple of years, I think, and they're going to be
Disney's got theirs.
Disney's
coming.
doing the same thing. I mean, are we going back to paying for cable again and paying for those services?
No, that's a good question. Like that's a very high level question that I can't necessarily answer because we have the same conversations in my house. I'm like, I'm not paying for a subscription service for multiples and end up still paying $1,500
subscriptions.
$150 a month. I'm not doing it. But but the I don't remember his name, but the president of Disney actually spoke on this yesterday. I just read it, and the question from the journalist was, do you think that there's going to be too much competition between the Disney streaming brand and Netflix? And he's like, not at all. And we all have different programming. People are going to want to come for programming. People come for content. The main thing with streaming, as opposed to just digital, and it's kind of two separate things, is that it's retrained us as to how we get our content. So now we get our content like we're reading a book. You just binge. Right? So you don't just watch an episode a week. You just you watch the first episode of something, you're like, I'm in, and then it's 2 a.m. and you're like, okay, I got to go to bed now. But we binge watch everything. So you look, Stranger Things is coming out on the 4th of July.
Come on, let's go.
Like, we all know
Stranger Things
that by the end of the weekend, we all will have watched the entire 3rd season already, if not on the 4th of July.
With crust in my eyes, yes.
Right? So it's really how we watch TV now.
Yeah. Wow, that's so fascinating to me,
But I'm with you because I'm not paying. I
mean, I say that now, but I'm like, I probably will. If they come out with a show that I want to watch, I mean, I probably will,
Look, it's crazy. So last year we dropped HBO. We're like, we're cool. We're watching enough. Like, I actually watch more Hulu now than Netflix. Because I don't watch as many movies as I used to, but Netflix has the comedy, so I do watch a lot of the stand-up comedy and stuff. But we dropped HBO, which sort of really killed my Issa Rae game. So now I'm behind a couple of seasons. Really upset about that. So I'm like, will they please put that on Hulu sooner than later?
Yeah.
But last season of Game of Thrones, I am not a Game of Thrones watcher. I'm sorry. My husband's like, I got to get that HBO.
Huge disappointment. That last couple episodes were like trash, right?
Oh,
that just
wow. Me? No, I heard that though. A lot of people said that.
8 years.
Oh, you were invested.
Oh,
that's why people are so disappointed. I didn't realize it was such a long investment for you.
Yes. The most epic TV show ever to lead up to that.
When it's over, I need y'all to come give Leighton a little pat on the back because he is still hurting from this.
We're going to have a meeting over here in the corner, No, that's really interesting.
Oh, by the way, so we dropped HBO as soon as the season was over.
Oh, you did? Just like
he
that?
He just wanted to watch, Thrones. That was it. He just needed Thrones.
So as soon as it was over, he just made the call. All right, we done with it. That's it. How involved is he in Revolt?
Wait, by the way, I was talking about my husband.
Not got you.
2 different people.
Got you.
Together.
Completely different people. I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah. How involved is the chairman in what we do? He's extremely involved. So I'm as surprised as most people are when I was as surprised as most people are when I tell them now. And it's a good thing. He is he's extremely creative and he's brilliant. And whenever I sit with him, we talk a lot. He voice texts me a lot. That's what he likes to do. I will say it's a very surreal situation. And I can't say that much because I am on a very strict NDA. But when I am in meetings with him, whether it's at the office or at his house, I am typically sitting there going, I can't believe I'm sitting in Puff Daddy's house. So that's pretty interesting. I'm not that person. Like I just never have really been on the talent side of things. But he's very involved. He's very involved. And when he's passionate, he likes to be involved in the beginning of the process for sure, so that he can be a part of the process of how things are going to look and what the narrative is going to be. And then he backs away and lets us do our thing, which is good.
Yeah.
And when he's invested, man, is he invested.
Wow.
And he posts about the shows and that kind of thing. And if he's not so invested, or if he's really busy, I mean, I don't know how he does what he does. He's constantly got people coming at him like, do you want this color? What do you want to eat? Are you going to make this deal? Like, it's constant. But I remember when I delivered Anatomy of a Queen, which was the Anatomy of a King was the clip you saw. When I delivered Anatomy of a Queen, it was like, I sent it at like 9:15 in the morning. I'm like, he's not up. It's cool. In like 15 minutes, he FaceTimed me. I was at my desk and the phone rang and I went, hey. And he was like, oh man, Robin, you just brought a tear to my eye.
So dramatic.
He's so dramatic in a good way, but it makes you feel good because he liked it. He was. That's the kind of stuff he wants to do too. I've been pushing him to do reality docudramas and things like that, and he, even with talent that he likes, he's like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like he does, and I get it. He doesn't want to be, as much as I think he likes shows like Love and Hip Hop. Personally, I think he does. He doesn't want to be that company. He doesn't want that narrative on his screens right now. Yeah. I'm with him. Like, I don't want to make those types of shows either, by the way.
What types of shows is that?
I'm not really for what I call, and no disrespect to the producers. I know the producers of that show very well. I'm not really for exploitation of whatever a situation is. I really love storytelling, and I really love being able to tell stories about people that are untold or underrepresented. But a lot of those shows are very staged also, so that's not really my thing. Yeah. I'm more of a verite docu drama kind of person than staging interviews. And I don't know. I watched 10 minutes of Love and Hip Hop once and was like, I'm out. Yeah, I watched because my friend was on the show.
Oh, really?
And I couldn't even get to the part where he was there.
Oh man,
it's not quite my thing. But
I got you.
Art is not for everyone, which you might like, I might hate, and vice versa. But that's okay. Yeah, we all go to it for different reasons. I think, like, I do have a lot of friends who love Love and Hip Hop or Basketball Wives or what's the Real Housewives, those shows. It's escapism at the end of the day. My husband's escapism is forged in fire, like watching interesting looking people. I just said that as nicely as I could. Make swords.
Make swords?
Swords. That's my husband's jam, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he's an engineer.
So he likes the process of bringing something together.
He's classic. Okay, he's a classic man. He likes process shows.
I like that.
For sure.
I like that.
But some people really do love the escapism of the cattiness and just like, what are they going to do next? What outrageous thing are they going to do next? I get that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. My mother watches those shows. My mother watches the Kardashians like it is going out of style. I'm like, girl, what?
I mean, no judgment, all right? But
no, there's a little judgment. You said no judgment earlier, and I was happy you started with that because no judgment over here. But no, there's judgment in the house.
Because you might judge me for saying this, but I don't usually like those shows. But a guilty pleasure that I cannot help myself with is The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Does anybody else watch this show? I can't stand it. I don't know why. I watch the show. I don't understand, y'all. All right,
dang.
Fine. You know what?
The judgment is in the building.
Y'all can leave, okay?
No, don't leave. Don't leave. Please don't leave.
Yeah, please don't.
No, that's interesting. I'm always surprised, like, who's still watching those shows now. I know.
It's not because I like it, okay? But it's everything that's wrong with romance and the relationships, you know what I'm saying? But
right.
There's an entertainment there, okay?
Now.
Anyway, moving on. So
It's staged though. That's the thing.
it is staged,
It's
but so much
staged.
drama, so much.
Yeah, you
And the
hook, line, and
dudes
sinker. They got
are
you.
like they're little.
Let me tell
they're
you about
boys.
this beachfront property that I have in Arizona. I think you would really like it.
Okay, all right, Rob. I see what I see what you about now. Okay. Anyway, look, in your line of work, you are constantly faced with pitches. I imagine, right? What are some? We have actually one of our producers, Edwin, in the back here, gave a lecture to us at one of our studio events called "The Art of the Pitch," and he talked a lot about how to craft an effective pitch. What are some qualities in a pitch that you look for? You mentioned story, which I imagine is a huge part of that. If there's a story you connect with, you know.
Exclusivity and access. So if you are bringing talent or a story or a format that is fresh or has the proper fresh spin on it, because there are really no new ideas, right? But if you are bringing something that feels exclusive, that only I can have, and it works only for my network or my demographic, that's important. Access is important. So a lot of people will pitch concepts that they actually don't have the access to. So going back to Hip Hop Idol, I'm telling you 75 pitches on Hip Hop Idol, and half of them said that they had Ice Cube attached. None of them had Ice Cube attached, but their cousins, brothers, nephews, uncle worked with him once. So
Somebody like the confidence to go in, walk in a room of an executive, look them in their face and say, I have Ice Cube attached to this. And they don't.
we can get Ice Cube. We think we can get Ice Cube. We have Ice Cube. I kid you not.
It's tragic.
It's trash is what it is. I don't know what gives me you got to shoot your shot. You got to try. You might be working with the executive who's so enamored with the concept, who thinks this would be a hit for us if we get Ice Cube. And if they don't have him, maybe we can get him. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, at the end of the day with Hip Hop Idol, and this is a come to Jesus conversation that you have to have with yourself, most of the people pitching that concept believed that it was sliced bread and they were the first ones to do it. Genuinely. So, and I get that. I'm glad people are passionate about their concepts, but the truth is, I hear a lot of the same concepts often. I've been sued over someone believing that their concept was stolen, which I would never do. And people, it happens. Edwin, Ghost Hunters. Word. So Edwin and I worked together years ago. We at Sci-Fi, we were pitched ghost hunting type of shows day in and day out. And so when we launched Ghost Hunters, they lost the case. It was just ridiculous. I don't know how much money they had to pay in fees, but that show was specifically, so let's talk about exclusivity. So Ghost Hunters, common idea. You've got some people who go out in the night with some gadgets and they try to talk to ghosts. Okay. Lots of people have pitched shows about soccer moms with who ghost hunt at night or whatever. This particular one was Plumbers by Day, Ghost Hunters by Night. It came from the producers brought it to us. It was an article in some Pennsylvania newspaper that they happened to find on an airplane. They reached out to the people. These were legit plumbers who worked for Roto-Rooter. And they were both non-believers who in their job had experiences. And they were like, this is crazy. And often what would happen is people would call them for a plumbing job, or they would say, we hear this, we don't know what it is. We think it's a plumbing knocking in the walls, and the plumbing was fine. So the more experiences they had, they started thinking, okay, this must be real. So they started a ghost hunting group, a real group. So the people who sued said, well, we had pitched that show to Sci-Fi already. No, you didn't. Not with the exclusive talent that we made this show with. So we had to, it was a lot of depositions and a lot of stuff, but ultimately they had no case whatsoever.
So the intellectual property that they were claiming to have claimed was not something to claim.
There aren't very many intellectual property claims that work because you can't, you don't own concepts.
Right.
You don't own concepts is the thing. We all have good ideas in our head. I mean, everybody and their mom pitches me stuff, including my own. And then if I make that show, if you're pitching networks right now, what do you hear all the time? Oh, we already have something like that in development. It's true. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes they are covering their butts because they don't want to be accused of something later. Because you might pitch me a great show about a chef who only does sushi, for example, and I don't buy it because maybe your talent's not that hot, or I don't believe that you're the one to produce it, whatever. Could be any number of reasons. And next week, another guy will walk in with a sushi chef idea that's dope because the talent is great. And I might buy that show. Now you trying to sue me.
Wow.
I don't think I answered the question about what I look for, but yes, I do think it's hard. I mean, it's really hard, especially since I've been in the business so long. I've heard everything. I have heard so many pitches. I wish I'd recorded it at one point. I know.
What do I want to ask? What's a funny pitch or just a trash pitch that kind of sticks out?
So hard. There's so many. I mean, honestly, I love this is why I love the creative process, and I love the fact that my ideal way of handling myself with producers is not to be a dream killer, because everybody has dreams and ideas that they think should be out there. I can't think of a trash pitch because there are so many. Like, most of them are not good. They're just not. And I don't mean that to be mean, but most pitches are not well thought through. And
can you kind of give me what is it to have a bad pitch? Like, what are the qualities that would be required for a pitch to be trash?
There could be many reasons why the actual pitch itself isn't good. I think a lot of people don't know how to tell a story, or they come in and they pitch the wrong things. They pitch that there's a digital component. I don't care about the digital component. What is the show? Like, a lot of times people will come in, they'll show a whole reel of a piece of talent that they think is really cool. The sushi chef, here he is, yada, yada, yada. And I'm watching, I'm like, and then I finish and go, great, he seems really interesting. Now tell me about the show. I say it just like that. I smile. So tell me about the show. But they haven't thought it through at all. I'm going to really try to think about that. There have been some really funny pitches. I get interesting pitches. Like at Sci-Fi, I would get a hip hop dance pitch. Here, I might get a ghost hunting pitch. Like, it's kind of weird sometimes, but I will tell you,
a little bit,
out of the box. Like, do your research, understand. Like, people come in to pitch and they will say, "So tell me a little about your network and about the programming."
They ask you that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Don't walk into a room not having research. Dude. And research means not just watching what's on air now or on their digital website.
Yeah.
Go research press releases as well, because what you might not see on the website or on air is what's coming down the pike, and they've put it out in a press release already. I will tell you this story though. Many, many years ago, I was pitched a show when I was at BET about these really fabulous women. And they were rich and they were smart and they were sassy. And the pitch was called Hotlanta.
Oh boy. And
the pitch wasn't right because all the women were probably, like late 30s, early 40s. And it wasn't right for BET. The audience demographic is 18 to 25 in the sweet spot. And that show became Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah. I couldn't buy it, but I knew it was a hit watching the sizzle reel.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But Robin, let's switch gears a little bit. I know that you're very active on your own personal social media.
You do.
And
he's been stalking.
Well, you already admitted to stalking me because you wanted to make sure that
I need to know what you look like, who I was talking to.
But one thing I noticed about, all of your posts is they're very positive, very encouraging, and they seem to have a specificity that would speak to a certain worldview and belief. Is that true? And why do you feel to be so positive and encouraging?
Because I'm not the most positive person on the planet. I am evolving just like we all are. And I got to a point in my life where I was really unhappy. I had to fix that. So when I first started reposting memes in like 2015 or 2016, it was really for me. I was really talking to myself. And people would say, "Oh, I needed this today," or "Thanks for posting," or "This is so true." And I realized I was not the only one. So this isn't so bad. So at the top of 2017, I think it was, or 2016, I don't remember, I decided I was going to launch a daily hashtag RLJ's Word. And some of them are original, just crazy thoughts that come out of my head. Some of them I'll get from, whatever quote I might see or a book I might read or whatever it is, or something I hear. I write stuff down. Like if I hear something really good, I'll write it down like, oh, I'm going to use that one day. I just started posting, and when I was managing, so I wasn't working for a corporation, I had more time on my hands. So I did it daily. I was pretty dedicated to it. And now it's, once a week, maybe I get to it, but I still try to post on my socials something that I feel like is positive for me or makes me rethink something in my life, or as a reminder to me that how I need to be a better human, or because I know that there's somebody out there that needs to hear it. And I also know that people interpret things totally differently. Like when I see people, even like the Hollywood agents, the producers that I know, doesn't matter ethnicity, when I have lunch or if I'm at a conference and I see them, they'll all go, "I love the stuff that you post." Doesn't matter age, demographic, they get something out of it, but they all take it a different way. So for a while I was posting things around workplace and career, because that's what I was going through. But people were interpreting the messages differently. They were using it personally in their relationships or financial or whatever, which I think is great. So it is that the word is for you. God's plan, you said at the beginning, is for you. It's different for her. It's different for him. So
read your one of your most recent posts, and I'd love to hear you expound on it a little bit. So surrendering doesn't mean giving up your power. It means giving up your ego and the illusion that you're in control. It's magical when you can truly let go.
Oh yeah, that was real. That was for me.
Loved it.
That was for me, for sure, in that moment. And I usually post them in the morning, so it's retrospective or anticipatory to the day, perhaps. So let's talk about ego. So I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time. I think I'm a much calmer, more thoughtful person than I was when I met Sonia, for example. I mean, Sonia and I have been friends since BET days. It's been 15 years or so, maybe. I was young and I was out there thinking I was, in charge of stuff. And my energy might not have been so good back then. She could probably tell you. I think, I think I was excited to finally be able to have a little more creative autonomy. And now, I've been doing this for a long time. I think I realized that my creative power is mine. I don't have to prove it to anyone else. And again, I love the helping and the elevating and the working with the young people so that they can be their best selves. But I think working with Mr. Combs, as we call him, I think working with Puff has definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. I know I'm really good at what I do, but he doesn't really care. Honestly, he just wants the job to be done well. So I had to let go of the ego. I really did. It wasn't really about that. I didn't need ego to be successful. I didn't need ego to love myself. So, I think whether it's a relationship or any relationship, whether it's a love relationship or with a partner or a work relationship, surrendering really allows you to be whole, to be a listener, to be able to meet people where they are, to not only accept yourself so that they can accept you as well. I don't know. That was an interesting post, but I definitely needed it in that moment. But it's freeing. It's completely freeing.
What is it that you are surrendering?
Myself, to be open, to be completely open, surrendering myself from judgment, from my own ego, from fear. It is for me, it's different for you. But for me, that's sort of what it was.
That's great. I love that. Final question.
By the way, those weren't my words.
Oh,
Yeah, those were not my words. A friend of mine actually shared that with me.
You just simply thinking that it was something worth posting speaks to you and highly regarded. What is some advice that you could give to somebody that wants a career in Hollywood, wants a career in this entertainment industry, whether it be producing, writing in front of the camera, but I know your experience is behind the camera. Is there any basic advice that you could give to somebody that's just getting going?
Surrender. No joke.
Talk.
Yeah, real talk. So many things I could say. I think study your craft, obviously. Really study your craft. You can't have ego at any level, but certainly when you're younger or just sort of getting started, rising in your career, really understand that it's important to let go of the ego, because you are learning, and there are a lot of people around you with more experience who are there to help you if you are willing and ready to accept that help. Which sometimes it means, eating a little humble pie or doing the chores the tasks that you don't really, you think you're beyond because you went to college or something. No, not really. Network. And I used to say that differently. I would tell people to party their bums off. And I mean that seriously. You got to get out and you got to see people, which I think, going back to that social media conversation, is tough because we do get stuck on our devices. But you have to get out into the world. If you're working as an assistant, network with other assistants, because you are all going to rise together. And you see it. It's classic in Hollywood. All the people that are in my, sort of peer group, a lot of them came up together and they knew each other 20 years ago because they were all assistants at the same time at different studios. I always tell young folks to, especially when you're in the assistant sort of space, regardless of your field, whether you're a writer or a dancer or whatever, a photographer, go try to work for the most elite person in that field. Try to get that job. And if you can't get that job, get the job to the person in the office next to that person, because this is the person that you want to be observing. And if they're the toughest person on the block, it doesn't matter. Work for them anyway, because you're going to learn some good stuff, because they're good. They're at the top for a reason. And then you'll also learn what not to do if they're not really a good human, because there are some people out there that are not great to work with. That's okay. You're still going to learn some great things. Yeah, that's a big one. Try to go work. Like if you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a judge one day, go work for the top level judge you can find in your neighborhood, whatever it is. When I say network, I don't just mean, yeah, let's get lunch. Like, build relationships. Yeah, build relationships. It's really important. I see it in Hollywood all the time. I mean, I want to hire the people that I'm friends with. Like I said, my friends produced that Anatomy of a King special. It gave me so much joy to be able to give it to them to make. We hire who we like. It's nepotism in a way. It's what they do in every other corporation, right? They hire their nephew, right? We can too. But the thing is you want to hire people who you want to spend 9 or 10 or 12 hours a day with. So that's why we hire our friends. It's not always the best thing, by the way. I mean, I do think that we should look at, I say diversity, but I don't mean it in the sense that we often talk about it. People who think differently. I think it's really important that you also hire people that might think a little differently than you do. My personal the way I hire is, and this is as selfish as it comes, I hire people who are going to make me look good. I hire people who are really good at what they do, whether they're an assistant or an editor, people who are going to let me sleep at night, people who are who can be autonomous, who, you know, we can talk about what the plan or the vision is and they can go away and do it and I don't have to micromanage them, because that's not my personal work style. And if the minute I have to micromanage somebody, I know it is not going to last, because I don't have time for it. If I can repeat how many things I oversee at Revolt, I don't have time for it. So, yeah.
I love it. Did you guys write all that down?
I
Yeah.
have so much more to say. It's crazy because I actually keep notes on advice that I would give like graduates. I keep notes on my phone. I think I had to take some of them out because, you know, they were old, but I had over 900 notes in my phone. Like I keep recipes and everything, but I really do.
So what you're saying is that you're writing a book, aren't you? There's a book in you. Isn't
People
there?
have been asking me to write a book on Earl Chase Word for a while. I was going to do like one of those rip-off day calendars kind of thing. I haven't gotten to it. I have my focus, you know, you make choices. It's not that I don't have enough time, but I choose to spend my time doing other things. But
I got you.
yeah.
Well, Robin, thank you for coming.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. So great.
I loved being here.
So great. Yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It was very insightful. Hang around. Let's mingle. Take some pictures in the back. Robin, one more thing. How can we keep in touch with you and just kind of follow you? Do you have a Twitter account, Instagram that's open to the public? Because I know some people keep
y'all
them
don't see this
private.
wisdom right here. I'm a Facebook kind of girl, but no, I always tell people if you want to reach out, if you want to stay in touch, reach me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's the most professional avenue for me. But if you do link with me, just send me a note. Don't just hit the link thing because I won't accept it.
Yeah.
Over a weekend, I can get over 100 LinkedIn requests. And I look at them all, but if I don't know you, if we haven't worked together, I don't know your name from the business, I can't.
Right.
Because people pitch me via social media.
Right.
And I can't accept that. I truly cannot accept unsolicited submissions. So I don't accept LinkedIn requests. So if you do hit me on LinkedIn, just put, hey, I was at this and, you know, saw you speak, would love to connect, and I will accept that.
No fear, y'all. Do it. Be bold. Okay.
Oh, so the advice thing, I remembered what I wanted to say.
Ooh.
The main piece of advice that I give everybody that I've been giving my children, you know, since before they were teenagers, ask for what you want. It's that simple. Ask for what you want. The answer might be no. That's the worst thing that can happen. Whatever. But at least you won't go through your entire life regretting the fact that you didn't ask if you could dance on that video or direct that whatever. Just ask. The answer might be no, and you may have to, you know, refresh and do some things to get to that point, but just keep asking.
Yeah, that's excellent. I love it. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Round of applause for our guests. Thank you to our producers and everybody who is involved in getting this together. You guys can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, the whole gambit at enter_Studio One. Stay tuned till next month. But y'all hang out. There's still some coffee and donuts, right? Y'all didn't eat all those donuts? Okay. Perfect. Y'all have a good night.